If you want to support Tuck's Drip, the first and only time you'll ever hear that on this podcast, and all the content we put out, you should head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/CMDTower. One of the perks is that we do announce, no matter what tier you're on, when you join the community. So we want to do a big shout out to Marcos Ramirez. He joined about a few weeks ago, but it was December-thon, or Toyota-thon.
It's December.
Oh, December, right. So during December, all the episodes were pre-recorded, so we couldn't do any patron announcements. But Marcos, super appreciate you joining the community, man. Welcome. It's great to have you. Definitely you should get into the Quarantine Battlegrounds and try to get some games in. But yeah, guys, even joining for $1 a month and getting access to the Discord gets us to our patron goals that we're aiming for, which is to get to 50 patrons and be able to start having you guys on every single month with Brews and Builds. But if you can't do that, or you're curious about what other benefits there are, there's a ton of them. There's a lot of stuff. We've actually refreshed a lot of our benefits in the month of December. So to give you guys a little perspective of what's available and what's new, here it is. So something that we've actually added to our patron rewards for our entry-level patron, of course, you get entered in for the deck therapy, the character voice work for Brews and Builds, and one of the new things we've created, and guys, you can thank Dana Roach over at EDH Retcast and CMDR Central for this, we have created a new reward called the Collective Diagnosis. Ooh. So this is a patron-driven episode where we're going to give you guys a mechanic, a legendary creature, a random magic thing, and we're going to pick 10 random patrons in the group every 3 months, and you guys will have the option of either writing a 1 paragraph about a card and why you think that card should be talked about in relation to that thing that we gave you, or, super exciting, as long as you have a setup that you can do it with, you'll be able to record your own audio and actually be able to say it to the community, and then me and Tuck will listen to your guys' responses, and then, in the same recording, be able to respond back and say if we agree or disagree in our thoughts on your position of that card. Very, very exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Definitely something we're really just trying to supplement to our community. Now, the other thing that we have added is actually on our top tier. So this is the Storm Count 1 tier. And what we've added to this is that you, a random patron, will get a guest spot on Brews and Builds every 3rd month. So every 3 months, Tuck and I will pick a random patron in our top tier and go ahead and actually have you on and record with us a deck on your Brews and Builds. And we'll even give you the choice.
Awesome.
Classic episode, chaos draft, theory crafting. It's completely up to you, but that is another thing that we have added in to kick off 2022.
Awesome. What a great, we can't wait to have some people on every 3 months, and then hopefully that will slowly coincide to every month.
Yeah, that'll be super pumped.
Great intro.
And of course, guys, we do have a referral program. So, Marcus, this is like 3-4 weeks late, but if someone referred you, let us know. But, whenever you guys join, please message us on Patreon to let us know if someone did refer you to the community. It could be like King Richard. It could be like Lemony Lennings. It just kind of depends on who's out there. Just let us know. And depending on the tier that you signed up for, we're going to reward them for growing that community. Now, it'd be remiss if we didn't mention our amazing store with our merch, cmdtower.com/merch. Of course, this being January 2022, we do have our Jund holiday sweaters out there. Yes, the holiday season is kind of coming to an end, but it's a great time to pick up one of these 100% combed cotton sweaters. They're amazing quality. Of course, you have the CMD Tower Cruise art on there. You got hops, grains, and yeast. It's very Brews and Builds themed. Very, very awesome. And I believe by this point, we'll probably have our new foil Brews and Blues. Brews and Blues. I'm talking Brews and Builds playmat. It's awesome. Marketing Ross actually took the art he did from our tokens, turned them into a constellation theme. Very much Theros Beyond Death feel. And created this great Brews and Builds for grains, hop, yeast, bottle capping art for the middle. Well, you know what? I went and hit up the print supplier, and they actually made that middle section foil. So if you've ever wanted a stitched playmat that's foil for only like $25, head over to our store and order those things up, because just like everything we do, once we run out, we're done with that and we're moving on to the next design and the next idea. And of course, if you can't support us financially, whether it's through our merch sales, whether it's through the website and the patron, just share the content you're watching and listening to, because every little bit of interaction from the collective does help. And we would be remiss if we didn't do a plug for our great audio and video producer at _tcoats on Twitter. He's all over YouTube. He's all over the Commander community. He does great work for the channel, but he can never improve if you don't let us know. So if you guys have ideas or suggestions or things you'd like to see, be sure to hit him up on Twitter so that way he can try to implement it. So Brews and Builds is our deck tech series. Since we conquered the path to 32 and the 12 themes of EDH decks, we moved on to a segment called Say Yes to the Deck. This will comprise of one of our hosts, today being BigTuck, building a deck online specifically geared towards the playstyle for the other, aka myself, but still challenging how they play EDH. At the end, we will see if they say yes to the deck, but of course, in the heart of Brews and Builds is still here, so we describe the brewing of the deck similar to how beer is brewed. So we broke it down to 4 different categories. How does your board interact with all of your opponents? We call that hops.
And hops give the beer's patented bitterness and herbal floral flavors. They grow in a variety of strands and help distinguish subcategories like IPAs. Our hop choices help clearly interact with the board so your deck can ultimately do what it wants.
Now we're going to head over to the hop profile, and I'm going to start this off with a hilarious card that I just want to say the word, because the word's hilarious.
That's why it's in the deck.
3, 2, 1...
Flumph. Flumph. It's a colorless and a white for a creature jellyfish, an 04 that's a rare from Adventures in Forgotten Realms.
Defender flying. Whenever Flumph is dealt damage, you and target opponent each draw a card. 04 like it said, and there is a plethora of text on this card.
This is another layup for you. Tamio, the Sorceress Supreme. Sorcerer Supreme.
Oh, you mean Tilda Sweeney or Sway?
Swinton. Tilda Swinton, yes.
Flumph siphon thoughts and energy from evil aberrations, and often are eager to share the dark knowledge they obtain with friendly adventures, Doctor. And yes, I was racially terribly cast in this role. Why in the world did they pick a bald white lady to do it? Doesn't make any sense.
Who knows?
So I love Flumph because this is the type of card where it's like, hey, swing over, I'll block as long as you don't kill it, and I'll let you draw a card.
Yep.
And you know what this kind of looks like? This looks a lot like Brina. Hey, attack person. Yes, I get something, but you're going to get something too. And you could do that with literally every single player because there's never a situation where an attack won't net something positive unless in that circumstance that I'm the one with the highest life total. Flumph is the same thing. Tuck, don't you want to draw a card? Yeah, I do. Well, I'm going to swing a 4/4 Rhino at you. Well, I'm not going to block then.
Yes, exactly. And I think the real key part here that I missed the first couple times I read this card, it's target opponent. It's not the controller of the creature.
Yep.
So if someone's trying to be a dickbag to you, you're like, okay, don't care. Hey, do you have an answer for this? Probably. Yeah, great. Draw your card. You don't get anything from it. The other thing recently that's been unearthed for 1 black mana that also cycles for 2 is Tomer, good friend of the show, who also loves drawing cards, hates this card.
Really?
I was shocked. He posted a short or something about white card draw, and I was like, yeah, this is perfect. It's a creature, it blocks, and then you also always get to draw a card. He's like, and I think his argument is it's not 1 for 1, right? You could potentially lose a creature, draw a card, and then another person has to draw a card. But it seems so efficient, right?
You know what would be a perfect synergy with this? We can't do it in this deck, unfortunately. If you have a black or red deck that also runs white, and you're running Pestilence or Pyrohemia, literally mana, draw a card, mana, draw a card, mana, draw a card. Pass the turn. Oh, I got more mana? Mana, draw a card. That seems very, very cool. Because it does say is dealt damage, not combat damage.
Right. Yes, which is clutch too. And for a 30-cent card, for me, it's this is well worth the spend just to try it out. If you're hurting for draw in an Arcades or another attack Bant deck.
Totally agree. And to the point that Tuck made earlier, to where it's target opponent, because it is just damage, it's like, hey, you can lightning bolt this thing, that's fine. Well, I'm going to add an extra damage to it, or I have Tobran out so it'll die. I'd be like, well, then you're not going to get to draw a card. So if you want to kill it, that's fine. It's just I'm not going to let you draw a card.
I'll give it some.
I'm going to be Tom Petty right now if you do that. So
all right, hold on. Wait.
Were you
coming down the Flumph, drawing everybody a cards, searching for a better removal because you're running Lightning Bolt and Commander, running down the Flumph.
And yes, guys, if you're curious, Tuck was actually hand miming him playing the bass,
playing a guitar.
All right, well, Tuck, why don't you give us your first second hop card then?
So this card is in here solely because I don't want you to have to spend money on Moat, which would double or triple the amount of money in this deck. But I think this is a really interesting one with the other utilities that we have. So I'm talking about a Sanctuary that may be up on Teferi's Island Sanctuary. So it's a colorless and a white for an enchantment. Coming in around $3, and I'm going to read the new text on it because it's been slightly errata just to make a little bit more sense. So it says, if you would draw a card during your draw step, you may skip that draw. If you do, until your next turn, you can't be attacked by creatures with flying and or island walk. So it's kind of the same thing of like Moat. It's a very efficient protect card. And the way I see this is that we have a lot of things like we just talked about of of ideas and that sort of thing, right? You could easily, if you're drawing 2 cards during your draw step, I'm not going to draw one of them. I'm protected. I'm still going to draw another one. And then we have things like Party Jace that are going to refill our hands during our turn. So for an enchantment, and there's a lot of enchantments in here, which we have some ways to tutor up, it seems like this is a very efficient way to do that, and there's not really a massive drawback that comes to it.
So here's the actual issue, and I think we might have to rules lawyer this. The card actually states on the errated text, if you would draw a card during your draw step, instead you may skip that draw. And technically, cards like Dictative Crucifix, or that would be a bad example. Some of them say, like, whenever you would draw, or if you would draw a card, go ahead and draw an additional card.
Oh, sure.
And so since you're skipping your draw step, I don't think you'll trigger on some of the extra ones. Now, Dictative Crucifix does say that player just draws an additional card at the beginning of their draw step. So that will get around Island Sanctuary. But that is just one thing to kind of make note and be careful. Because if something does say, like, you know, if you would draw a card during your draw step, or just if there's anything like that, like an if you do this action, draw an additional card. If you skip it, you're not doing the action, so you won't get the secondary card thing. I don't know if there's anything in this deck that might do that, but that is something to kind of keep note.
For sure. And it does state, there was some rules notes on this. So it says if you get multiple draws, or use your spell or ability during the draw step to draw extra cards, you can have the replacement effect apply to any one or all of those. You only need to have it applied to one to get the effect. If you skip more than one, there is no additional effect.
Well, there we go. Rules lawyer done.
Thanks, Skyfall. Thanks for being free.
Well, my next one is, you know, this is a very me card because it's actually not Group Hug. It's more Stacks, but it's disguised as Group Hug in a heartfelt story from the Heartwood storyteller.
Yeah. This card is bonkers.
Colorless green, 59 cents. Latest printing in Time Spiral Remastered. It's a 2/3 creature tree folk rare. Whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, each of that player's opponents may draw a card. And there's flavor text.
This is another one that you love from another thing you've never seen. This is Yora, Academy researcher, who is Sarah Goldfarb from Requiem for a Dream, which for your reference is an old lady that's strung out on crack that she got from her doctor. Methamphetamines.
His roots reach deep, nurtured not by soil and rain, but by millennia. I need my crack of experience.
This is the 90s, so they give diet pills away like fucking candy from the doctor.
So this card's great. I actually, I don't know how many decks this is played in. It should see play in probably 10 times that amount.
Way more, yeah.
To just be frank, because let's be honest, even if you ran this in your mono green deck, usually mono green decks don't have a lot of non-creature spells. So this is really just a one-sided, if you guys do it, it allows me to also draw cards. It is a May effect, so that's kind of cool, because then there's going to be, it kind of goes into the group hug thing to where if Smothering Tithe was in here, it would be like, hey, you don't have to draw it, and I don't get to, get the treasure. You don't have to pay 2.
Right.
Like, it's totally fair. Or, hey, I'm sorry, you've drawn way too much of your deck. You don't have to. It's a nice May effect. I mean, it hits me on so many levels, except it is lightning boltable.
But we only run shocks, right? So the thing that was exciting about putting this in here for me was this is a card that I had seen a lot back in the day, but it used to be fairly expensive, right? Like, I think that's one of the reasons why you don't see it that much. I think it used to be like $6 to $10 at some point in its old printings, because it was only like printed once or twice. Yeah. Around, $8 before it got reprinted. So I think that might be why it's low, but I completely agree. And even if you are playing like a red-green spell slinger, you're still probably only casting one giant spell a turn, right? So, okay, everyone gets a draw off it, but if you're playing any blue player, it's going to make up for itself in a turn cycle for everyone at the table.
Yep. And here's the great thing, guys. People playing Storm-like decks is becoming a lot more frequently. I mean, literally, just a couple weeks, well, I guess at the time of you guys hearing this, is about a month ago, I was playing my Zaffi deck, and Zaffi's, I mean, I didn't build it as a Storm deck. It just naturally, in one turn, I ended up playing like 18 spells. Right. Just, it happened. That would have been better for me letting my opponents draw most of their deck to possibly deck them. But people do that, and I would not be shocked if you put this in a deck and you don't just naturally end up drawing 10 cards. I would not be surprised.
Yeah, completely agree on that. All-Star, can't wait to see it more in play.
All right, well, Tuck, why don't you give us your last hop card?
All right. I don't think that you chose this one, but I want to, because this card will let you just trade stuff off, right? I'll give you things from me and I'll take from you, right? It may not be the kind of trade that you're looking for, but I also will be able to turn your artifacts into blockers. There's everything on this card just does something.
Just everything,
good, right? Everything, right? There's a reason it was banned for a run there, but I am starting to put Oko, Thief of Crowns, into as many decks as I can play them in. So a colorless and Simic, that's a blue and a green for a 4-drop legendary planeswalker Oko, mythic rare, and also redacted bit from this is from the trash set. There you go. Merry Christmas. When this card got previewed, we both thought it sucked. We were both completely wrong. And it has 3 stated abilities. So +2, create a food token. Little life gain, little artifact, right? Nothing crazy there. +1, target artifact or creature loses all abilities and becomes a green elk creature with base power and toughness 3/3. -5, exchange control of target artifact or creature you control and target creature an opponent controls with power 3 or less. So it's just, look, that's a really great soul ring you have there, right? That's not going to block this rhino coming in here. Are you crazy? That's not going to block some sort of nightmare that's going to be coming your way on the ground. I'm going to give you an elk that you can just run underground, right? You don't have to think about it. I also built this around Thanksgiving, so the food token is important to there. You get a little hungry at the table, and then eventually, listen, you've been very generous with playing this Mana Crypt, and I've really enjoyed seeing it. But I'm going to give you an elk that I made of the worst card that I own, and I'm going to take your Mana Crypt, and now you can feel good because you gave me mana accelerations. It's just a very fair, even card across the board. It does nothing that's going to piss off your opponents, and it's certainly not going to be something that's going to get killed literally the turn after you play it.
I don't know what else to say outside the fact that I genuinely loved this card when it first got printed. I still can't believe with as many bannings as it's had, it's still like an $11 card to go pick one up. I would have thought it being banned in literally every format except for Commander, it seems like. It would be a $5 card at least. But hey, Oko, I'm hungry. I'll make food. I need a little bit of life. And you know what? I see, Tuck, you're at 5 life. I'm going to give you some food, and I'm going to take your chromatic lantern. I'm just saying, I think you would rather have 3 life
you need that
than
life.
the mana.
Absolutely. It's just a fair, completely it's completely not one-sided removal or anything else like that. It's a very giving, generous card.
Well, my last hop card is probably the most generous card in the deck, because Tidal Barracuda, it's the fairest thing. 3 colorless blue, creature fish, it's a rare, 3/4. Any player may cast spells as though they had flash. Well, that seems pretty fair. But my opponents can only cast spells they can't cast spells during my turn.
And our pal Yold, professor of crypto-religiology, aka Adam Sandler from Opera Man, has a few things to say about this as well.
Oh, it lurks in the spaces between moments.
Your audio cut off on Discord. I literally just saw you go like, ooh. I couldn't see anything out of it.
So, Tidal Barracuda is great because here's the way I actually look at this card. Yes, everyone's allowed to cast stuff at flash speed, but they can't do it on my turn. So, I'm still coming up on the exact same issues that you normally would, where it's like, oh, you have open mana, and, but now instead of you being able to see what I'm going to do with your open mana, you have to react either before my turn or immediately after my turn. But my turn, I'll get to do what I want. So it's fair from the aspect of you now can flash in creatures and sorceries and artifacts and enchantments and planeswalkers during everyone else's turn. I could do the same. But unlike a Phelddagrif Ori, I'm still at instant speed all the time, but I still have to worry about your instant speed at any time. This, 100%, it's like Grand Abolisher. My mind is clear, but no one's going to be upset because unlike Grand Abolisher, this also gives them a little something.
So when this is out, you're still playing on your turn, right?
Yep.
To the extent that you want to.
Yes. Yeah, the only thing that I believe way I would play this card that I would hold up would be board wipes. Sorcery-based board wipes.
Oh, yeah.
That stuff I would be like, okay, let me do that strategically. But yeah, I think I'm pretty much like, do I want to get my commander out? Okay, I'm going to do that on my turn. I'm not doing that on your ass's turns because you could counter it.
Yeah, you could just kill it. Yeah, for sure. Do you think so? I think what is funny though is that I think this card kind of penalizes the person to your right when you play
because everyone's just going to unload.
Because everyone's just waiting. They're like, all right, pass. It goes to him, and they're like, they have to act on the person to your right. Effectively, the person on your right are swapping places with the person on your left. Yes. They're like, I have to do my things now, else they're all going to react to it on my turn.
Yeah, that's a good point, Tuck, because if you think about it, the person to my left really only has 1 turn at 1.5 turns at instant speed. They have the person to their left, and then the person to my right, but they have to immediately do it then, where I get 4 turns to do everything I want.
Right.
They're only getting 2 turns to do what they want, essentially.
And the person across the table from you, diagonally, also benefits the most from this because they have both times to react.
Yep.
So it's kind of like a monarch. It's like a sneaky monarch card a little bit.
But let's also throw this out there. What the hell does a barracuda have to do with this effect? Literally nothing.
You're gonna have to talk to the pretenders about that. A barracuda